Hi guys, there's a couple things I want to emphasize before you take the test today, and first of all, that is that I would like you to watch the review video, and it's posted on yesterday in the module, and it's labeled Wednesday review video. If you came to one of my live reviews, then you don't need to worry about watching the review video because it was the same stuff in the review, but if you missed the live review, please watch the video from yesterday. I think you'll do much better on the test if you watch that first. And then also let me show you a couple more things. And that's a comparison between artificial selection and genetic modification. So artificial selection would be like, for example, the tangelo is when they cross-pollinate tangerines and grapefruit. So they would take like the pollen from the flower of a tangerine tree, and they would put that in the flower of a grapefruit tree, and then it would grow into a tangelo. So that's something that can't change the adult organism. You have to do it before it becomes a tangelo, right? Because you have to take pollen from the flower of a tangerine tree and put it in the flower of a grapefruit tree. And then genetic modification also can't change an adult organism. An example would be tomatoes that can withstand the frost. You can't do it after the tomato has already grown. You have to do it when it's just a little embryo inside a seed. And what they do is they cut out the gene from an Antarctic toothfish's DNA, just the gene that makes its blood not freeze in cold waters. They don't take out any other genes, like they don't take out the gene for fins or scales or anything like that, just the one that makes its blood not freeze. And then they put it into the DNA of a tomato before the tomato plant has even grown at all. They put it into the little embryo of the tomato plant in the seed. And then they plant it, and when they do, and when it grows into tomatoes, the tomatoes can withstand the frost. So that can't change the adult organism, and neither can artificial selection. Artificial selection would also be like just choosing the best ones, like teosint. They just chose the ones with the best kernels or the most kernels and replanted them, and eventually we got modern corn today because they just replanted the best ones. So it could be that, or it could be cross-pollinating some plants. Anyways, neither one of those can change the adult organism. Both of them add new DNA. So like in this case, they're adding some DNA from the Antarctic toothfish into the tomato plant. And in this case, they're adding new DNA from both tangerines and grapefruit. They're like combining them together into a new fruit called the tangelo. So both of them are adding new DNA. But here's where it starts to get different. Artificial selection can only add genes from a closely related organism, like tangerines and grapefruits, pretty closely related. Or donkeys and horses, they're pretty closely related. You can breed them together to get a mule. But you wouldn't be able to breed together like a snake and a horse. That wouldn't work. They're too different. They're not closely related. But with genetic modification, you can add genes from any organism. So you can take the gene for glowing from a jellyfish and stick it in the DNA of like a cat, and you get a glow-in-the-dark cat. But you could never have done that with artificial selection. You can't breed a jellyfish and a cat together because they're not closely related enough. So that's a difference between the two. And another difference is for genetic modification, you can only add one gene at a time. Whether that gene is the gene for glowing from a jellyfish or the gene for not freezing from the Antarctic toothfish, that's just one gene at a time. But with artificial selection, you can add many genes at once. Like with the tangelo, they're adding the flavor of the tangerine and the flavor of the grapefruit, but it also adds other genes as well, like maybe the texture or the size or something. Same with the donkey and the horse. You're adding multiple genes from donkeys and horses together to make a mule. So artificial selection, multiple genes at once, and you can add genes only from organisms that are closely related. Genetic modification, you can add genes from any organism, but only one at a time. And those are some things that are going to show up on your test, so I want to make sure that you know those as well. Good luck on the test. Oh, and by the way, the code is Bandersnatch. I'm going to type that really quick up here. Test code is Bandersnatch. Good luck on the test.